Welcome. I am excited to share this with you. There's a drum roll in the background, and there's years of unfolding happening, and I'm so tired on a certain level that it's like, yeah, whatever. Here you go. For the past over 10 years, I've been working on a project. It's essentially it's like my graduate angel degree. Thoth and Shiva have been my teachers. And the way their work and their guidance fit together was that they basically taught me critical lessons and said, make it work. How are you going to share these? So I've been teaching and practicing in small groups one-on-one in a way that I can say, hey, does this work? How does this come across to you? Where does this connect to you? And I've been developing the ability to teach other people what they teach me. And that's more profound than I can measure. The goal here is to communicate this in a way that makes it normal. And I love the challenge more than I understood. A lot of the pieces are here. I just haven't been offering much context because I've been kind of like relentlessly focused on getting the pieces there. And then I can be like, hey, use this. Now use this. Now use this. And the results are you are put in a position where you have tools at your disposal that can respond to a wide range of challenges that people face. Now, here's the critical metaphor that I want to get increasingly good at communicating to you. There's a certain kind of resistance that I believe people are taught to push through. In fact, in a culture, in any culture in which you're raised into sports as a primary metaphor, that this resistance is institutionalized. Success depends on pushing against those guys over there. And you're essentially pushing to overcome them. And the metaphor is internalized in terms of like, dig deeper, push harder, find every last drop. Now, look, there's a place for this. There are times when you have to push yourself past what you believe is possible. And there are plenty of times when that's not necessary. I have gotten into extraordinary zones of energetic balance that enable me to just keep going through all sorts of resistances, exhaustion evaporating into extraordinarily good feelings in my body as I just keep moving, often walking, but multi-hour yoga practices where I tune into exactly the right rhythms and I'm just flowing. This is our birthright. We're designed to work this way, but it involves generating a different kind of relationship with yourself, a relationship in which you actually trust your feeling. Now, here's how simple this can be. If you attune yourself to a metronome is like a da, 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 da. That's a mathematical construct that creates a beat. Now, if you would align to it, you're aligned to it. That might not seem like a big deal, but does the weather do that? Watch the waves as they hit the shore, even in a little lake or a pond. The bigger they get, the easier it is to see. There's a shifting rhythm to the way nature works. The wind, the clouds, everything about how our weather patterns change happens in rhythms, but they're not rhythms that maintain the same relentless beat. Same is true in you. The most amazing breathing technique I know is not something I have found taught anywhere. It's very simple. Change the pace. And here's the thing. It is not actually chaos, but it involves embracing chaos because you have to experience it this way. The chaos is something that can be very terrifying to people. And I think this is the primary reason folks don't look in. When you look in at what's happening inside yourself, you're immediately exposing a range of awareness that it can be quite unpleasant for the toughest and most extraordinary, for the most extremes of endurance or strength. Staring at your own pain can be an entirely different thing. No, they're great at facing it in terms of physical pain, and they fight and battle it. But if you look into that vulnerability of the emotional suffering that most people carry, it can be very traumatizing to allow yourself to feel. Well, the way to unlock it is really simple. It's this flowing breath, the wild flowing breath, with fire guiding the way. Here's how it works. There's an energy moving inside you all the time, and it has a wide range of expressions, but there's almost always a discernible place in your body where you can recognize you're feeling the most. It'll change. You can follow it. But in order to do that, you have to first even intend to tune in. Now, that's why I've been generating all these different meditations, some of them with yoga, some of them just seated, where I'm encouraging you to go through and you're scanning your system in the circle of fifths, the key ring cycle through the chakras. But what that amounts to is you're giving every part of your body attention. And when you do that again and again and again, you become comfortable with anything in your entire system that might be resisting attention. Because pain, particularly emotional pain, actually resists attention. You don't want to have to feel it. You don't want to feel it because when you feel it, in some ways, it gets stronger. Where you put your attention, the suffering seems to amplify. And on a certain energetic level, it literally does amplify. It gets stronger when you pay attention. So one person has headaches that they can push through and still accomplish things. And as you learn to develop your spiritual awareness and you tune into those sensations, headache becomes debilitating. I can't do shit when I'm feeling certain kind of headaches. And yet, when I go into it and allow it to show me what's underneath, something very profound happens. I start to untangle the root forces that generated the pain to begin with. And more often than not, that involves looking into feelings that hurt, emotional feelings. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling like I was not appreciated. I'm feeling like I was betrayed or not loved well. I've put my heart into a friendship or another connection in my life, and I feel like they're not there. They took me for granted. It can be really painful to allow yourself to feel these things, much less something worse, something where someone you love seems to want to hurt you actively, resent you, be sending you daggers. This is what gets revealed when you start looking into your spirit. You come to this threshold where you have to let yourself be aware of how a lot of the folks in your life really think and feel during their downtime. Now, we tend to try, many of us try to show our best face to each other, right? And that's generally seen as loving. But the reality is, if someone in your life really loves you, but also has a tangle of mixed feelings, you are actually already feeling those mixed feelings. They're already affecting you. You just don't recognize that that's what they are. Well, Suzanne, my commitment is to help people be the love beyond it. I don't know if I don't know how to embrace where chaos is love. Love is certainly bigger than anything I'm afraid of in chaos. One metaphor that might work is I don't believe that darkness is intrinsically bad. I believe wounded and frightening things hide in the darkness, which is why we tend to associate it that way. And I think perhaps we could relate to chaos in the same way. When we stay focused, we have a degree of control over our lives, or at least we can delude ourselves into thinking so. And so periodically people are making choices, and as long as those choices work, there seems to be a track to it, a structure, an order that feels good when it works. But when we're trying to implement the wrong order in a situation, that attempt to implement the wrong order becomes suffering itself. And the Buddhist premise that desire is suffering is really profound in this regard, because I believe this is where we lose so much of our ability to live a good life. It's not that desire itself is always bad. It's that desire, in the face of a life and a world that is telling us to do something different, if we desire something that's out of tune with what's available, then we suffer. This is the deep, profound surrender, which, in my experience, takes us beyond everything that's sort of taught in a mainstream life that you're supposed to aspire to. This control, this sense of like, I'm on top of it, I am manifesting the life I want. Well, come a little closer. When you tune in to yourself, you will find that you are bigger than anything you may have identified as you. There are all these other forces going on that it's tempting to say, this isn't me, that's something else. Now, here's the simple version that's really important to understand. If you look at someone who's like hateful, like racist, this is an easy one because it works so clearly. Someone who's racist, every time they see someone of a race they're afraid of, they're thinking negative thoughts. Those negative thoughts are them, but they're trying to identify them with someone else. So there's a projection happening. And the important thing to understand about this projection is there's an energy in the person, and they're attempting to pretend that it's not their own. In fact, they're actively always identifying it with a certain category of people. It's the easiest, laziest way to try to project your energy. But the truth is, all projection is bad. So after someone's graduated from being overtly, consciously racist, you can still exist in a life where you're thinking about things that are very unpleasant on a regular basis, and you're having the same kind of disagreements on a regular basis. I remember at one point, years ago, thankfully, but bless your heart if you're here, I really want to offer you a way through this challenge. At one point, I realized that my inbox in a certain community I was a part of was full of messages with people I was arguing with. And something clicked, and I said, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I doing this? And I saw there were a couple messages from friends who were giving me positive feedback, and it wasn't there. Like, I couldn't, like, that message didn't have an allure to me. It was the messages in the arguments that had the magnetism. And it was so profound in this moment where I'm like, no, really, there's something wrong with this. Why is it like this? And I started tracing it. I looked at these negative interactions and I traced it into, what is it in me? It's not about this other person, because as soon as I got rid of one argument, I was in another one. I was in an overtly addictive pattern of connecting negatively with someone else. And I needed to do it with someone else because I wasn't at that time able to realize that these forces were my own. I had negative feelings within me, feelings I didn't want to have. And they were too loud for me to appreciate love and tenderness on a certain level. But I didn't want to deal with them. Now, I promise you, the easier way to deal with this is to do it through vibration. Vibrationally, you can find everything in you. Vibration doesn't lie. There is a channel down from your crown to your root, into the ground, up above you. This channel, I always encourage you to understand. Imagine that it's 100 strands of light, 100% of your energy, but think of it as 100 strands of light. In this channel is you. Everything about you that is yours is here. Doesn't lie. Vibration doesn't lie. It's right here. But you can lie to yourself. And what that means is you're going to do your best not to address 30, 70% of this energy. You're going to pretend it's not you. You're going to tell yourself, I am this. And so you're scripting a story to yourself that says this is who you are, but 70% of your energy is saying otherwise. They contradict. The way you know yourself is different from the truth of this. Well, when you start to commit to looking into the source, the energy itself, all of a sudden your mental relationship to these truths It's very different. You lose the power to lie to yourself. And that's really scary because very few people want to even think that you're lying to yourself to begin with, right? So this is a profound transition to go through. And the commitment that enables it to be possible is start with feeling. Well, I think that's exactly where we need to begin. Is there is an ability, an opportunity to love a new life beyond all this that is far preferable. And to a certain extent, yes, it might take sort of setting a standard before you necessarily know it. Although I do hope you relate with this enough that you feel the allure in this. There's work to do to get there. And as soon as you start to commit to it, it's almost like you get on a treadmill of sorts. Like you can't just put it down. And here's the simple reason why. When you start scanning through yourself, you're going to sense feelings. Now, perhaps you think of them as just physical feelings. And for a long time, that might remain true because it can be difficult to discern the difference between energetic feelings and something that's generated physically. But I promise you, there is a difference. In fact, in many cases, you are feeling things physically only because the energy is so tense that it's wound up in you going like this until it affects your muscles. And then your muscles start to mirror that tension and then they hurt. But it's important to relate, like, where did that start? Now, certainly, if you use the same muscular motion over and over again using a tool in an imbalanced way, your muscles are going to hurt because your muscles hurt. But understanding that there are energetic patterns underneath that generate tension without muscular activity is really profound. This is why, in my opinion, nobody should ever have back surgery for back pain until you do a good commitment to yoga for at least a year. Because we can change a lot of these forces. And in fact, changing them often involves using your body. The reason yoga works so well is it helps you focus. If you get your body into certain consistent forms and then you tune in to the sensations that are the strongest and that draw your attention the most prominently, you're going to start to influence those sensations even more. And you get to the point where you can sit still, as I do every day, and I scan myself. And when I do, I can tune into something that just maybe it felt a little annoying. All right. Feels a little annoying. And I ask myself, is this physical or is this mental? Now, at this point, is this physical, mental, or spiritual? Because it really can be all three. And I ask myself that question. At this point, I can usually figure it out pretty quickly. But when I can't, it's because I'm stuck on that issue. So I commit to looking at it and I tune in. And sometimes, and I mean daily, this happens to me, folks, daily. I tune in and I follow it. I follow it in a way that creates a change that goes whoosh, and it'll just fountain up and out my crown or down my root. It moves through my stream entirely. This kind of change, in my experience, we're talking like it can happen 10 times as easily if you can focus. But to focus, you have to tune into the feeling and you follow that feeling. Imagine you have a held note. Do. At first, you're going to tune into sensations. They're going to be like that. It's going to be like a held note that then disappears. I'm inviting you to imagine beforehand that is actually an energy that is changing. The reason it seems to disappear from your awareness, your felt sense, is because you don't know how to follow it to where it goes. But as you learn to follow it to where it goes, you start to get this more dynamic ability. And it's like, no. The ability to follow an energy through those changes is a skill, like a skill that involves this attentiveness that puts you in a position to decode it. Now, The critical distinction here is that feeling energetically moves in your body independent of the chakras. So when we associate things with chakras, we're actually learning to engage these energies in a way that creates structure where sometimes it doesn't exist. And as we do that, we're essentially committing to learning about ourselves in a way that says, my family relationships affect my diet because we eat together. And my diet affects my strength and power because what I'm feeding myself becomes the foundation for the energy I have to use. And what my strength and power shape my identity in the world, which changes what I commit to, which changes the relationships I have, which changes my heart. If any one of those themes is stuck, the whole sequence breaks and you can't follow the energy. But in reverse, if you learn to follow your energy, it will bring you to the ways you're stuck. This is relentless. It's beautiful in its relentlessness in that it's going to circle you through wherever in your life system you're stuck and go, boom, face this. That's what I'm trying to do here. That's all of this channel. That's my career goal, is to get you to trust this process. Because as you learn to trust it, it becomes really cool how obvious things get. 2 weeks ago, I was feeling this latent tension in my neck that I've been feeling for a while. Now, much of the work I've done has not addressed it in a way that was effective. So I tried something radical. I just started talking. And I've posted like 20 live feeds since then and unlisted half of them or something. But the point was I let it flow. My stuckness was here. And none of the exercises I was doing for this worked. I couldn't practice yoga in a way that emphasized my neck enough. It didn't work. But what did happen was I practiced yoga in a way that emphasized my neck, and then my communication got clearer. It said, you have a lot of things you got to share. Now, in my case, as an example that I hope you can relate to and make sense of what's been happening on my channel, there's been a lot of themes on which I've had strong opinions and even insights that come from really valuable places, straight from angels in some cases. But I just haven't wanted the responsibility of telling you about it. I just, particularly weighing in on mainstream issues like drugs and sex and abortion and guns and war. I've almost wanted to be apart from that in a way that has not been functional, because I have strong, clear opinions on why things are working the way they are. And I believe it could help people, even if it feels outlandish that many folks would be able even to relate to abortion on the levels I'd encourage you to think about it. So for years, I've been avoiding sharing on these themes, but as a result, the energy's been stuck within me. I haven't been able to address the bigger themes of chakra spiritual transformation, because sometimes those lead into a mainstream issue that we've got to be able to talk about together, but I haven't wanted to, so I've stopped up the energy. So now I've shared on all these themes. Now, it wasn't that, like blasting YouTube with live videos is not the best way to get my voice out there, but it's there now. Like I put it there. And my chakra loves it. My chakra didn't want to wait. YouTube strategy suggests do this once a week or twice a week or something, but my chakra wanted to flow. And this is an exact metaphor for what I encourage you to think about in your own life. Your energy wants to tell you exactly what you need to focus on and change. And likely as not, you have mental boundaries. You have ideas in your head that you're holding, literally holding. And when you hold an idea in your head, it's an energy. You're holding an energy. You're not just holding it, you're feeding it. And when you feed an energy that doesn't necessarily harmonize with the rest of your life, it saps your strength. It's taking energy from the rest of your life to feed an idea that you want to prioritize this, and this in your life. Well, your spirit doesn't give a shit. Your spirit is addressing exactly what's in the way. It's like water hitting a log in a stream. Your spirit's, it's not an opinion. It's saying this log is in the way. And you're saying, yes, but this is a very sacred log. It represents my grandmother's first tree. And it fell down, and I really love it because it meant so much to her. And in that tree, she climbed the tree, and she taught me to climb the tree. And so I just don't want to let go of this log. Your spirit doesn't give a shit. Your spirit doesn't have nostalgia. Your spirit wants to move the block out. And that's the kind of shift in relationship to yourself that occurs when you prioritize feeling. Because when you prioritize feeling, you are feeling your thoughts and emotions. You feel energetically the vibration, the presence of your thoughts and emotions. And again, this is relentless. You are 100 strands of light from your crown to your root, into the ground, fountaining above you. Everything about you is right there. You can't hide it effectively. You can try. You could kind of create energetic shields over parts of yourself. I can't see everything about everyone immediately. But I promise you, it takes a lot of effort to try to shield things. For the most part, they're just right there. My son does this thing that I find very amusing. He says, Daddy, I'm gonna tell Ema something. I'm not gonna tell you. Don't listen. We're in the same room, and he says, don't listen. Now, most people would consider this a little bit absurd. How do you not listen? I mean, you cannot pay attention, but if something's spoken in your presence, you're going to hear it. Energy works mostly like this. People are just resonating what they are. They're just resonating. You are resonating what you are, and I can see it. I can see it, and then I can tune into it, and then I know it. We're operating in an insane culture that has very little regard, respect, appreciation, or even attention put on spiritual dynamics that are just right here. You're right here. You are a wild flowing fire. You are present, and you are emitting the truth of everything that you are. But we live in this netherworld. I promise you, it's like a purgatory. It's like a dreamland that in 100 years, people are going to be like, that was possible? It was possible to think that you can lie? Because in a real, true spiritual place, you can't lie. It's not really possible. You can't generate a false truth. It's almost like there's a speaker system saying, he is completely full of shit. That is not true. As soon as you attempt to say it, your energy doesn't lie. It can't lie. And shifting into a commitment where you prioritize this experience is daunting because you no longer get to avoid things nearly as effectively. Much harder to avoid. Now, I hope you would say, yes, awesome. That's what I want. I commit to this. And I'm here to help you stay with that commitment because it's daunting. It is really daunting to stay with. But the gift is in the title of the video that I started. The gift is a daily ecstasy. See, here's what happens. If you learn to follow sensations, they get stronger. If you learn to follow sensations, they teach you how to tend them. Much like as if a flower could teach you what it needs. If you learn to tend your feelings, you learn to expose what's not healthy and take care of what is healthy. When you do that, you start to feel better. I feel good most of the time. Now I have 2 little kids and I don't get enough sleep. So, there are some problems that are built into the system at the moment. And I know how to tend most of my feelings. And here's the radical shift. And here's why I'm so excited to introduce my angel project. You don't get to decide exactly what you need all the time. And it becomes almost impossible to say every Monday, I'm going running for 5 miles. Every Wednesday, I'm doing 2 hours of yoga. And every Friday, I'm doing weightlifting. You can't. This is not the right way to take care of yourself. It's actively wrong because it is prioritizing a mental relationship to reality that might be out of tune with what you really need then. I just had a great example of this because I got a window of time before going online and I decided I was going to do some yoga. I wanted to exhaust myself. I wanted to do some assertive yoga. Well, I started and I've tried and my body just didn't want to. Mentally, I wanted to accomplish the goal of getting stronger and sweating and using my aerobic and endurance, my aerobic energy and my extending my endurance. That's not what my body and spirit wanted. What if you engaged a practice where you allowed your resistance to change you? I did a gentler practice. I feel really good and centered and focused. I don't feel tired in a way I wanted to, but that's not what my body had available. What if you learn to trust that? What if it's okay? What if it's good? See, there's this relationship that I think many people, certainly in the community and culture I grew up in, can relate to. It says, make yourself. When I first learned to run, I would push myself. I almost passed out. They sent me to the nurse's office because I was so red the day I broke through and ran as fast as I could for 2 miles. I don't know, in gym. It was a day when I decided I was going to become a good runner, and I pushed it as hard as I could. And that was the model that I was taught to emulate, like push through your resistance. Now there's a place for that, particularly if you need to get away from something scary. But it's a very specific approach, and it's a very focused tool. And when it's not time for that tool, you may well really hurt yourself if you emphasize it. So yes, you might extend your endurance, but you're going to fracture your relationship with your spirit. Your spirit will not trust you. Your body really won't trust you. So you become a drill sergeant and you live in permanent opposition to your resistance. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but I promise you it's a very, very specific choice. You're choosing an entire lifestyle when you say you're going to fight through your resistance. What if your resistance is actually good? Your resistance is smart. Your resistance is trying to tell you something. Resistance that you can feel is not a dumb animal inside you that just wants to be lazy. Do away with this idea entirely. Nothing in you wants to be lazy. You just have different aspects of yourself and they have different priorities. What if you learn to respect all of your priorities? So yes, you want to increase your endurance. Yes, you want to increase your strength, but you're willing to slow that process down or flow with it in a chaotic and exploratory way that's more like the weather. You're going to follow your life like the weather, and you're going to say, today, what do I do? Today, what is best for you? So there's this chaos order thing, right? Where change becomes a bit of a challenge in that I think people play hit or miss. Like, you know what it feels like to be in chaos, and some part of you might anticipate creating order as if that's the goal. But do you know the right kind of order? I am introducing this project that we've been creating for years together. I've been putting a lot of pieces into place, and now the foundations are here. And the foundations come out of knowledge that I learned with Shiva and Thoth. I was just utterly focused on learning about the nature of this reality. And I kept getting taught to go back into myself because I was becoming so expansive. So I was trained on how to get back in here because I was being too out of body. I was being too nebulous. As a result, I gained all these tools on how to take care of myself, and I started putting them together, and I explored. And they taught me to explore. And my experience of this was something along the lines of like being a student and being given the freedom to do my like final project. And so I had to come up with a lot of the ideas of what to do. And I'd go to them and I'd say, well, what about this? What do you think? And they'd say, change this. Now, for a long time, I really wanted to experience this as like, either all mine or all not mine. Like, I came up with this. I did this. This is great. This is me. You know, I generated this amazing thing. But some part, I just couldn't. Even among people, you know, I have plenty of friends and relatives who don't even begin to believe that I'm talking to Thoth. It's a little difficult for me, to be honest. And I've had to navigate how to handle that. And so for them, it's tempting to just sort of frame this as like, hey, look at what I'm doing. It's bullshit. You know, what I am doing is saying, hey, Thoth, explain this to me. And then I get a very clear explanation. And they go to Shiva and say, why is it like this? And he says, try these. So I've been doing this for years, and I've developed a very present system that says this. On any given day, there's something that's best for you. You need to be able to emphasize strength, flexibility, and endurance in your practice. You also need stillness. When you allow yourself to sit down and you carve out time, you can carve out time at the same time of day during each week. That's fine. You just can't say what you're going to do during that time. And for me, I love it. That's magnificent because I love the magic of sitting down and saying, okay, what now? As I said, this is kind of a good time for me to talk about this because I kind of fell back on my commitment some. I really wanted to do an assertive practice, and it wasn't there. And when I allowed myself to sense what it was like I was trying to do an assertive practice, I was trying to inflict myself into the world, and in the resistance, I felt like a failure. I was like, oh God, there was these like layers of self-judgment that came quickly until I said, okay, this is clearly not working. What? This is the critical step that I invite you to take, that you need to take in order to transition into a whole world of deeper virtue. It's a different kind of virtue. The virtue is to care about what your spirit has to say fundamentally in all your choices. And I promise you, it's a radical commitment because it means day by day, you never know when you're going to have to face feelings and insights and memories that you just don't want to deal with. You lose some of your capacity to control your thought process. But I promise you, it wasn't working very well before, right? This is what unravels a wide range of suffering. You just have to commit to staring at it and being willing to feel it emotionally. A lot of people are suffering very badly in ways that, perhaps you think of as physical, and they won't look into the suffering because to be present with it emotionally is the worst thing. Again and again and again, I see this as the biggest block. People are traumatized. They've been traumatized. You've been traumatized at a certain point in your life, and you've never fully dealt with it. And so trauma ends up existing like a wound. Wound up energy, spelled the same way. Wound, wound up energy that's like, it's a little repeated movie of the fucking trauma, and it's just in you, and it's just doing this. Boom, boom. Now, the only way to heal that is to go into it and you live it. You live through the change in the emotional arcs in a way you weren't able to do when you were there. Now, it's actually possible to live through pain as it happens, but it can be challenging. So people will often check out in traumatizing situations. And when you check out, that movie, that energy gets dislocated from you. It's still here. It doesn't go away, but your consciousness attempts to isolate it outside of you, to be like, nope, that's not me. That's not mine. I don't want this. When you commit to following a spiritual life in this way, you can no longer do that. It's like your permission to do that is revoked. And as a result, day after day, you never know when this shit's going to come up. And that's the commitment of this path. But it's actively effective. Day by day, week by week, year by year, you clear issues that you've been bearing. And your feeling gets better. And your feeling gets better. And your feeling gets better. There are so many times when I tune into tension within my body, I ask, is this physical, mental, or spiritual? A mental tension is generated from a repeated thought that I'm trying to assert. A spiritual tension is generated from a pull in a direction that I don't want to be present in. And a physical tension is generated from sleeping on my neck the wrong way, or from sitting too long, or from doing a job in a way that's imbalanced and creates repeated muscle, whatever, tension. So you often have to ask yourself, which of these forces is the origination of your tension? If you're not even asking yourself this, you have a world to open up to that's going to be awesome, because this is profound level of influence that you gain over your own life. Well, A lot of times there's a spiritual tension that I'm just blocking kind of by habit. I'm like a little stuck. I'm a little too over focused on whatever I'm doing. So I'm not letting life flow through me. I tune in, I pause, I stop. And it's a big deal because to do this in a way that works, you have to have this commitment. I might actually get up and go on an hour-long walk if that's what I have to do. I might actually tell the person I'm working with or my family that I really need some space. If you're not willing to do that on a regular basis, none of this works. But the reverse gift is, okay, I sit down, I'm like, set it all aside, tune in. Oh, that's all. It's just a little flow of spirit that wanted to move through, but I was stuck, so I wasn't letting it move through. Now, to catalyze this, you have to tune in, and you have to tune in, and you focus. And at first, it sounds like a whole held note, no, and then you get better at it. You get better at following it, and it follows from here down my back, centers under my shoulder, up this side. Whoa! It just released. Felt really nice. Subtle nice, but it's nice. And the bed of a good life is this just again and again, you're following these little tensions and you're letting them reveal to you whatever you're missing, whatever is stuck in you. And this goes on for years, but it just gets better. And there are so many instances where you can learn to tune in. And if your attention slacks, your experience will be that the feeling sort of disappears. And if your attention stays into the nuance, it can be like, whoosh, there's some really strong feelings that just, they shift your entire energy. I call these all shifts, energy shifts. And one of the best ways to work with them that I know of is to practice yoga a fair amount, because as you learn to stay aware of how your physical body generates feeling, it helps you differentiate what is energy, what is spirit, and what is physical. And as you differentiate that, you start to realize where your power lies. So you know when you need to do the physical work, and you know when you need to stay still. Yoga is really good at teaching you to be still in interesting patterns of your body, right? So when you're holding that still, then you can follow the spirit. You've put your muscles in a place where they do the work they need to do, and you can follow the spirit, and you follow it, and it unlocks things. It unlocks things. It unlocks incredible gifts. The other night I sat by the fire. 2 nights ago, we had a fire. And I sat by the fire late into the night, and my wife introduced me to a thought. Just, I don't even know what the mental thought was, but I felt it change me. And I just went this deeper sinking into relaxing and appreciating myself, taking the pressure off myself and embracing what is here. You will be amazed at how influential this is. Again, yoga is one of the more revealing paths to unlocking this power, and it works so fast. Here's one way that it gets exposed. If you go into a fairly difficult pose for you, it doesn't have to be a difficult pose by objective standards, just a pose that's challenging for you, and you hold a commitment to stay in the pose, your body will feel one way. But as soon as your mind says, I want to leave, you're going to feel the tension increase. Your body will start to change in relation to your mind. Your mind asserts this possibility. You're going to change your position, and all of a sudden you feel the tension in your body. This is how it works spiritually as well. When you hold your awareness on a spiritual flow, that spirit can unlock things and open. But as soon as you shrink from it, as soon as you say, oh, this is too deep, this is requiring too much focus, the spirit, it'll go right out of your league. It'll just leave your presence. You lose it. You can't follow it, and you lose the gift of it. And in between are these tensions, and the tensions are designed to get your attention. Tensions need your attention. And again, this is a negative habit loop that a lot of people have to uncover, because we are trained in many ways to overwhelm our tensions, to take a substance or even coffee or sugar, what have you, that helps you overwhelm it. Watch a show that's fast paced and the ads are shifting and none of the scenes stay the same, because you're outpacing yourself, what's going on in you. And the sadness here is really profound, because we have this ability to feel really good, like really good. And I swear people are settling for much less because there is a fear intrinsic of feeling bad. So in so many ways, our commitments are naked to the world. Do you want to feel good, or are you avoiding feeling bad? And if you're avoiding feeling bad, you're not going to feel very good because you're constantly turning down the feeling. I feel bad, turn down feeling. I feel bad, turn down feeling. Oh, I want to feel good. Yeah, I'd like to feel good, but don't like me feel bad. I don't want to feel bad. And energetically, from a spiritual vision, this stuff is obvious. Like I just see it. I just see it in people. And I'm becoming more honest with myself about how, you know, it's a league apart from a normal life. I walk around my town and someone will catch my attention and I know things about them, like boom. And this is, I believe, normal. What I'm getting revealed to me is in the future, in 100 years, this is just going to be totally normal for everyone. No one will think that you can walk around and pretend to be anything other than who you are. No one will think that you can walk around and hide your pain or your suffering. And ultimately, in a community, in a culture that's based on community and love, this is great. People see when you're suffering. Someone posted a picture on Facebook. For whatever reason, they posted this as a new profile picture 2 years ago. This struck me. And I'm like, wow, dude, are you okay? And he's like, I don't know. Why are you asking? And I'm like, I was just wondering. And I saw pain in his face. And I don't know why he would have chosen to let this be his profile picture. But to him and maybe to other people, it wasn't obvious. But I see it. It's right there. And this isn't even, it's not vague. It's right there. Who you are is right there. And you have to be willing to let that be true. This is one of the deepest commitments I made, and I made it at the start of my spiritual journey. Commit to transparency. Commit to living as if everyone you encounter knows the truth about you. You can't lie to them. You can't play them. And if you engage with someone who you can kind of lie to, understand you're both lying to yourselves. They are so committed to a world in which they're not going to be present with the truth that, yeah, you can play them a little, but this is not who you want to spend your time with. You want to spend your time with people who are committed to being real about who they are and what they want, how they feel. You want to spend your time with people who will be able to see when you're suffering and ask you about it. You want to spend your time with people who would want you to say, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Now, this ultimately doesn't have to look extreme. I use my spiritual gifts in very practical ways. I don't say, oh my God, I'm reading your energy field, dude, and you're emitting strains of, angelic dystopia. Just be like, hey, what's up? Are you okay? It's beautiful. There's a beauty in living this way, but it involves this very fundamental commitment to honesty with yourself. And I promise you the best way to engage that is through feeling. Commit to feeling. Now, here's the tool, which I have yet to learn how to teach as effectively as I want to. Breathe. Now, look, I promise you that the best way for you to breathe is not the best way for me to breathe. Think about how radical that is. If the best way for you to breathe is different than the best way for me to breathe, if you copy me, okay, that might improve you from where you were, but you're not going to get into your best. How are we going to get you into your best? Well, the commitment is to realize there is a weather of your life that is unique to you, and you want to be able to follow it. At any given moment, Spirit could move through you in a way that needs your attention more than what I might tell you. Therefore, I cannot tell you exactly what to do and have you copy me and put you at your best. Now, I'm teaching you exercises. I really encourage you to learn the 12 essential breathing exercises. It's in the top playlist on my channel, a little bit down. 12 essential breathing exercises. This is like calisthenics for your lungs. It's giving your lungs and your focus a wide range of tools and skills. But it's ultimately not the best. The best is beyond it. And the best works like this. You're going to relax your focus. And I invite you to do these. You're going to relax your focus, and you're going to gently look at your lungs almost like out of the corner of your eye. Almost like you're shy, or they are. And you begin to tune in, and you don't change anything. Just focus. And gently try to bring your focus more on the process without controlling it. And you'll find that attention will change it. It is not possible to watch your lungs without changing them. But don't structure it. Follow. And now is the magic. How can you breathe in a way that helps you feel around your heart and lungs? That's it. Some breaths are deep, some breaths are held. Sometimes you go halfway through inhaling, you pause, you slow, you focus, and then you breathe more. I can give you a range of tools, but you need to use them when it's best for you to use them. You can do this for a minute and change your whole day. Do it for a couple minutes. Life's blood. This is spiritual blood. You are breathing in life force, but it does not always want to be regimented and deep, 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 deep. It wants you to learn to follow the subtlety. And sometimes you can lose it if you take too deep a breath. And sometimes you will lose it if you don't pause. And then the depth comes from a different space. And all of a sudden you go, oh, wow. And you get a really deep one. And then you follow that, and there's a glow. And it's shallow for a while, and then it's deeper. And then there's a rhythm. It's like waves on the beach. And then a big one comes through and wipes the others away. And then another one follows it, and then it's slower again. You need to breathe like this. But it won't happen unless you put your attention into it. And when you put your attention into it, you greatly amplify your power. You greatly enhance the spiritual resonance that you're feeling, and it will lead you. This is the magic that starts to lead you into where in your life needs you. Where in your life needs you. The chakras are such a wonderful tool to work with in this, because you can end up following the resonance to where it gets stuck. And then you say, oh, it's that chakra I need to work with. Now remember, you're not feeling for the chakra itself. You're feeling for like tendrils of energy that reach from the chakra. You are not feeling the chakra. You are feeling light that's emitted from the chakra that gets tangled with your life force somewhere. And so all you need to do is learn to associate. A feeling here is with the lungs. A feeling here is with the throat. A feeling here is with the chin. You're drawing a circle and helping find it. So as you follow your breath, you're going to notice where you check out, where it gets stuck, where you lose the ability to go deeper. And then you know that's what you have to work on. There's a beauty to this, that it's like, okay, you're stuck spiritually, but you can work mentally now because you know which themes are associated with each chakra. 2 weeks ago, after months of having a real stuck energy in my neck, I unlocked that I'm like, what do I do? This is not working. I keep having the same tension right here and it's not changing. What do I do? And I unlocked, okay, I've got to just talk and keep talking. I've got to do not just one wild flow. I got to do a lot of wild flows. And I did that. And I've moved through all these themes. And there are some of these, the past 2 weeks, I've put up these wild flows often, but other times I knew exactly what I was going to say. And I, made a lesson out of it. And some of those were really tough for me to share. I just didn't want to do it. And then I share it and I'm like, why was I resisting this again? I wonder how many things like that there are in your life. How many places are you stuck where it just seems really significant that you're stuck there? Like you just really don't think you can move through this. You don't think you could say this. You don't think you can do this, whatever it may be. And then when you actually get the focus to do it, you're going to be like, huh, why was I stuck on that again? Like, it's really beautiful. And that's how it works consistently in my experience. Spirit will take me into these places where I'm stuck. My own spirit reveals to me the ways in which I'm stuck. And then lo and behold, it's okay. I have to take an action. I have to speak my truth. But the chakras will teach you what you need to do. There's so much support in this. Next week, I am going to start deeper dives on all the chakras. For whatever reason, I've avoided doing this. I don't know why. I've let it be for 3 years, and now I'm just going to get it out. I'm going to do half an hour on each chakra, just information, talk to you about my relationship to the chakra, because developing a relationship to these chakras is so wonderful. It's so inspiring and empowering. It gives you an immediate sense of what you need to work on. Like, let's pretend that we're not doing chakras here, all right? I'm telling you, you need these 12 themes in your life to be in order, to live a good life. And that these 12 themes will get you a good grasp on how your overall life is going, if you look into all of them and you don't avoid any of them. So community, intimacy, power, prayer, love, decisions, communication, trust, guidance, imagination, dreams, divinity. When you look into these 12 areas of your life, you will reveal a complex set of relationships you have with yourself. And at any given time, one of those areas of focus is going to be most beneficial for you. And this is a language for your spirit. This is a language for your spirit to talk to you and help you understand where you can best put your effort, best put your focus. Next week, start a course. And I invite you, this is the last time I'm going to invite people to join. It's the first time I'm offering this course a little bit publicly online, and it's going to involve a lot of give and play. It's $100. You can pay me. There's a link in the description of this video. And this is like, it's going to be much more than this in the future. But the first round, I really want your participation and your feedback. And this is what it's about. It's about learning to make these associations, learning to put your body in a healthy enough space where you can tune in and recognize what your spirit's saying and then act on it. So all these tools are in your hand. And nothing is more exciting to me than empowering people to know how to talk to yourself. You talk to yourself and you reveal what you can do to lead the healthiest life. And that's a gift that keeps on giving. Hey, well, bye, Suzanne. Thanks for being here. And thank you all for sticking through with it. I think this is going to be a really wonderful change. I'm back to spirit and chakras for a while. I'm not going to be addressing mainstream themes for a bit. Periodically, I'll do it, but it's not the norm. And in the process, I'm really excited to kind of unfold to you, reveal to you how this system works. It's all here. It's all in pieces. And when you gain perspective on it, I think you're going to love it more and more. Well, thank you so much, Fatima. I'm really appreciative. I'm appreciative, excited, and I really think there's something on the other side of this that I can't see. So I'm excited in a way I never have been before, because I think I'm getting out work that I've been hiding from. I've been avoiding, and it's been anchoring me. A boat with an anchor down can't get out of port. I'm going to have an interview on the Kevin Moore Show and the Spiritual News Network next week. I don't know when they're going to post it, but I'm doing the interview. So Radieu suggested that I check this out, and they're going to interview me, and I'm pretty excited about that. And this is something I wanted to do for a while. I have my best friend interviewed me on his podcast. Other than that, I haven't been I haven't been getting out there. I haven't been marketing or sharing, and I'm going to start to think of it more as sharing. I'm going to try to just remove my resistance to sharing more, because I'm really pleased and excited about the level, the quality that my work has gotten to. And, it's time to share more. Yeah, me too. And I appreciate it. I think it's good work, and I think it's a good place for me to begin. It's definitely, it's not like people are going to be freaked out about what I'm sharing there in that range of community. So I do have a desire to reach more mainstream folks, and I have apprehension about having to deal with their objections and concerns or whatever. But I think I've been, for whatever reason, I haven't just been like, hey, how about I talk to communities of people who don't have those issues, and just be present with that, and let it be what it is, and let people who are more skeptical be who they are and be where they are. So it's a good thing. It's a big step, and I'm glad to be on this part of the course. I do have a couple more meditations coming out. I've recorded them, and I have listeners actually who are doing music for them. Really excited about those. And along with those are going to be, 12 videos in fairly short order. I think I'm going to just bust them out to provide a more in-depth overview of each chakra. And I'm not going to do graphics and stuff with them now. We can do it in the future, but I just want to get it out. I've been perfectionist. I've been like waiting to do perfect versions of them. And, I've just got to get it out there. So thank you all. Thank you all for being around. Thank you all for being you. I appreciate your support and your love. I hope to see you again pretty soon. Till the next one.